Hi! Welcome to PrimalCore. This is the mod showcase for PrimalCore 1.12, and this is the first mod showcase for PrimalCore. I live streamed some gameplay of this earlier on, and you can watch that on my channel. Now, PrimalCore deals with like primitive level technologies and stuff and early game survival. One important thing about PrimalCore is when you punch wood, it simply disappears. So I'm going to enter survival mode here and punch this wood.
All you get splinters and bloody knuckles.
Yeah, you get nothing. No wood in my inventory from punching the wood. So it completely changes the early game. And I'm going to teach you how to survive in PrimalCore survival mode. Because, you know, this is crazy stuff here. Now, when you're getting started, because you can't just punch wood to make tools, you need to punch grass. That's right. You want to turn grass into plant fiber, and then turn plant fiber into twine. And the way you do that is a simple recipe. It's just 3 plant fiber in an L shape, and it becomes twine. And the twine's going to be very important later. Then you want to break leaves. You want to punch leaves, and you'll occasionally get sticks from that. And that's the only way to get sticks in the early game without tools. But we're going to use these things to make tools. The next thing you want to do is punch gravel. Because occasionally, yeah, you get flint.
That's the same as vanilla, but it's a lot more useful now.
Yeah, now it's much more important to do in the beginning of the game. Then, here's where it gets kind of interesting. You want to chip the flint. You want to get flaked flint by beating flint against a rock. You just sort of hold down the left mouse button. And occasionally when you click the left mouse button and hold it down for a second, the flint will turn into flaked flint. And now you can construct your first flint hatchet. The flint hatchet is kind of like an axe. It's a little bit weaker, but a little bit faster. It's definitely not as good of a weapon. The attack bonus is pretty low.
Don't need a crafting table, though, as you can see. Which is good, because you won't have one.
Now that you have a hatchet, you can cut wood. And build yourself a crafting table. And once you have a crafting table, lots more stuff is opened up. So now we get into the tools. Here's the recipe for a pickaxe. The flint pickaxe. You get your chipped flint and you tie it onto a stick with some twine. And now with the flint pickaxe, you can finally get yourself some stone. And so now that you got wood and stone, your stone tools are unlocked. So once your stone tools are unlocked, you want to get coal or charcoal. Either bake yourself some logs in a furnace, or get yourself some coal, or get that coal or charcoal.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah, it's pretty standard, but it's a bit, you're a bit more pressed for time on it this time. Because now you're getting more of those of those plant fibers, you know, because you need to use twine to tie your coal to a stick to make torches. That's right. The recipe for torches is different now.
And these torches are very different now.
The torches themselves are different. You don't just get a torch that's a light source. You have to light the torch.
That's easier said than done.
And that brings us to our next tool, the fire bow. The fire bow is a legit thing. This is how people light fires in real life, either in remote places or in olden times. Or, you know, those historical recreationists. Watch out for those people.
This is a lot easier to get than flint and steel, but it's not as good.
You gotta have this fire bow to light your unlit torches. These torches are unlit. They're not a light source.
Flint and steel will work later on, but for now you're going to need this.
And then, once you have your fire bow and your unlit torch, you can light these torches. Let there be light! But, be careful, because torches create smoke. And smoke can temporarily blind you. Blindness. Oh, man. Now, I have blindness. Creating a chimney in your house up near the top, like a ventilation hole, can help with the smoke. And the smoke eventually settles into ash, which is this stuff here. So now that you got your light and your tools, let's get into some more tools. This is the Gallagher. Now, the Gallagher is gonna come up later. It's basically a big hammer. I'm not really even sure about everything you can do with it, but it will come up later in a crafting recipe. And that's just the first stone tool I'm going to show you. Your regular stone tools are still available. You don't need twine to craft a stone pickaxe.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need twine to make the metal tools. But for some reason you don't need twine to make the stone tools either. But let's get into some more flint tools for now, because they're very useful in the early game. The flint shovel, you know, it's a bit different from a vanilla shovel. You tie your twine onto some flaked flint, just like with the flint pickaxe. And this is the flint hoe, which by the time you're done getting your first tools, you're going to want food. So you're going to probably want your hoe.
Oh, and these.
And these are the flint shears, so this is actually really nice. 2 pieces of flint and 1 piece of twine, you got your shears. You're harvesting leaves, you're harvesting wool from sheep easily without the need for iron technology.
So it's kind of like the fire bow,
Yeah.
but for shears.
You can shear sheep before you hit the Iron Age, and that is pretty cool. Over here, we have our flint axe, which really, it's only slightly different from a vanilla axe, but it's got that piece of twine in there. The flint handsaw, and this is very useful. This thing is used in crafting. You use it in various crafting recipes to craft stuff. And it kind of makes sense the way it's used in crafting. You'll see later. So very useful tool, the flint handsaw. You're going to want one of those. And this is the flint work knife, which you actually need a piece of regular unflaked flint for, as well as 4 pieces of flaked flint. Now, this flint work knife is also used in a lot of crafting recipes and is super useful.
Yeah.
And you'll see that very soon.
These two are available in other materials later on, and both basically let you either do more stuff at the crafting bench or do stuff away from the crafting bench, depending on the recipe in question.
Yeah. So, now let's get into fishing.
A good example.
A good example of what you need that flint work knife for. So, to get fish in this world, a nice, easy way to get fish reliably in this world is to get some fish bait and a trap. The way you make fish bait or chum is to take some raw meat and just craft it with the work knife. The work knife on top, the raw meat underneath, and you get yourself some chum. Now that raw meat could be raw chicken, raw steak, raw mutton, zombie flesh, some fish. You can use fish to catch fish. Or suet and lard, which are now things that you could get as drops from pigs and cows. You could get your suet and your lard. And yeah, this chum is super useful. You're going to want to be making chum for your fish traps, which we're going to get into now. First, you're going to want slats, and there's 2 recipes for slats. One of them is to take 6 sticks, and you get your slats. The other recipe doesn't even require a crafting table. All you need is your flint handsaw. You can take some wood planks and flint handsaw them down into wood slabs. Or if you already have some wood slabs, flint handsaw them down into wood...
Thin slabs.
Thin slabs, which is also a thing this mod adds. Thin slabs are like a half slab. And then you flint handsaw those thin slabs down into slats.
And this doubles the amount each time. So you're going to get 2 slabs, 4 thin slabs, 8 slats out of every wood planks.
Now, these slats are super useful in many different recipes. And this is the recipe for the fish trap. You take 4 slats, 4 twine, and you got yourself a fish trap, which can only be placed underwater. You're going to want to place that in water, and then you want to bait the trap. So you place the trap underwater and then bait it. And here's some traps made from all the different woods. None of them have caught fish. That may be because I placed them in creative mode.
Yeah, I think so.
Back in a survival, bait the trap. Trap has bait.
Look at the other ones real quick for a sec. Yeah, they're actually kind of different. Like, see how they're all they placed closed when you were in creative?
Right.
So yeah, little differences there. If you're in creative mode.
But the traps come in all these different woods. You can color your traps by the wood. I mean, if you use a handsaw to craft your slats. If you use a handsaw to craft your slats, it preserves the wood type. But if you use sticks to craft your slats, obviously they're going to be oak slats, because that's the default wood. So that's slats and fish traps. You leave that bait in that trap underwater for a while, and eventually you'll get some delicious fish. Moving on. This is rush. And you're going to see that this interesting plant right here, it slows you down when you walk through it. It actually slows you down quite a bit. If I go into creative mode and fly, see? Really slows you down.
I mean, it's not as much of a difference when you were walking or running, but you can really see it when you're flying. And yeah, a large patch of that you will definitely slow down.
Yeah, the rush slows you down, but it's useful for building materials. We'll see that now. When you break rush, it breaks into stems, tips, and blooming tips. Now the blooming tips can be crafted into rush seeds with your work knife. Just work knife on top, blooming tips below, and you get your seeds to plant more rush.
It'll also grow back. The original bushes won't fully break unless you destroy the blocks they're rooted in. Very tenacious plant.
Right. If I go over here and I destroy the rush plant,
And you can see
look,
things.
yeah, there's a little bit left. So I'd have to destroy the dirt block that it lives on to be able to fully uproot this plant, basically. It's a very hearty plant, the rush. And if you take either the rush stems,
Well, the rush stems for this recipe.
right, you take the rush stems, craft it 2x2, and you get fresh thatch. Or you can take the rush tips,
Blooming or regular.
Yep, blooming tips or regular tips, and craft them 3x3 to also get your fresh thatch. You take your fresh thatching and you place them 3x3 but with twine in the center, and you get a wet thatch block. And then if you place it...
They both dried.
Interesting. If you place your wet thatch block on the ground, it'll eventually dry. And it actually, once it's dried, it's 2 slabs on top of each other. And you can break it to get the slabs and place the thatch as slabs. So dry thatch is always slabs. It's very interesting. Now, if you, one interesting thing you can do with thatch, aside from just building the roof to your hut, is, you can create a thatch drain. Now, the thatch drain will allow items to pass through. You just take your handsaw and use the slats and the thatch in that order: handsaw, slats, thatch, and you get a thatch drain. Now, the thatch drain can be opened and closed, and when it's open, it allows items to pass through. Look at that. See it sitting down there? And if you close the drain, items will not pass through. It's just sitting on top there. See, it's just sitting on top there because the drain is closed. But if I open it, it falls through. Thatch drains, they're great. Very useful. Now, another thing you can do with slats is create wattle. And the wattle is kind of like a thin wall, almost like a sideways slab made of wood. Now, wattle is part of wattle and daub. So to talk about daub, first we talk about mud. To get mud, you want to take tilled soil, specifically the tilled soil. Use that hoe of yours.
Wet tilled soil, I believe.
Wet tilled soil is the best. Yeah, you want to use that hoe of yours on soil that's near water. Till soil that's near water, and then break those tilled soil blocks, and you'll get mud. Now, you take your mud and you craft it with wheat and clay in the center. 6 mud, 2 wheat, 1 clay, and you get daub. Now, You take your daub and you put it on your wattle.
You literally use it on the placed wattle.
And you get daub wattle. If I take this daub, we go over here. Here's our daub wattle in 2 colors. There's the black and the white. And then you can have your wattle in all these different wood types. You know? And if I take the daub and put it on my wattle, bam! See, it covers it.
It'll actually break back to the wattle before breaking.
That's right. If I break it, the daub breaks first, and then I have bare wattle. Pretty cool. So you can use that to build your walls, and then the thatch to build your roof. You'll get some pretty realistic looking primitive, like, you know, Stone Age, Iron Age huts. I guess Iron Age for the daub and wattle. But that's not really, doesn't really require iron. Now, there are some cool crafting tables and stuff. These come in a couple of types. The first is a log crafting table. The log crafting table it looks beautiful. You just take this axe. This is specifically the flint axe. And you place the flint axe and a log, some kind of wood log, in your crafting table, and or just in your crafting menu, and you get an acacia log crafting table. And these things just look beautiful, these log crafting tables. Here's an oak one, and here's my favorite, the acacia. And you can place items in them. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. They have these little shelves for you to place items in. You could retrieve those items later with the right mouse button. You just place and retrieve with right mouse. Beautiful little display shelves that are also a viable crafting table. They're beautiful, and I love these things. Now, to talk about the other type of crafting table, first I have to start with iron slats. Iron slats are pretty useful, and you make them by using that Gallagher that I showed you earlier on some iron bars. Just some standard vanilla iron bars. Harvest them from a town you find or something, and pound them with the Gallagher in your crafting menu, and you get iron slats. The iron slats, you use 4 of them with 4 planks of any wood type, and you get a storage crate of any wood type. I have here a birch storage crate. These storage crates are very useful. They're like a box. You open them, you put stuff inside. Right? But they're different because they could be used in tandem with this crafting table. It's a crafting table slab. You take 4 slabs and craft them into this slab crafting table. I did a dark oak one here. And you put this crafting table, it's just a regular crafting table, but it's a slab. It's half height. However, you place it on top of one of these storage crates by sneak clicking it, and you can access the storage crate from the crafting table. So just while you're crafting, you have your own inventory as well as the inventory of the box, which that just makes crafting way easier, and you can make it look super cool, like with this birch dark oak combo that I've got going right here. It's really, really cool. It's one of my favorite things about this mod. And I'm sure you've noticed these everywhere. I've been walking over them. These dirt stairs. Well, Here's another cool building material. Dirt stairs. They're like regular stairs, but they're made of dirt. And it just looks really nice. It's really cool. So, now I want to talk about... These ladders look weird, right? I didn't realize that was a thing. What is up with the ladders?
Just ladders?
No, the ladders are weird looking.
Okay, maybe they're rope ladders? Oh, whoa. I see. Our ladders. Oh, no.
What?
Crapper.
Did you go down in there?
I thought that's what you put the ladders for.
I wasn't done yet.
Oh, no, you weren't.
Those are ladders, apparently. Yes.
Yeah, but they look different. So this mod changes the way ladders look. But, see, you can have the ladders preserve the wood type.
It's a bit like the way the slats worked.
To have ladders preserve your wood type, though, you can't just craft them out of sticks like a vanilla ladder.
Same issue as the slats.
So I need to talk about pins. Wood pins are created by using that work knife on a stick.
It's a half stick.
It's a half stick. Wood pins. Now, you can take these pins and slats of any wood of your choosing, and you craft them in this shape into a ladder that preserves the wood that you used. And they're kind of cool looking, but they're very chunky. They're a little different from vanilla ladders. And they look a little weird. So another thing is you may want to install the JEI mod. If you've noticed, when I enter crafting, there's this whole extra menu on the right hand side here. The wiki for this mod doesn't exist.
How you mine for fish?
Oh wow, they don't exist. Those are red links. Ah, they're using JEI to get the recipes.
What's that?
It's another mod.
God damn it. The wiki for this mod does not exist yet.
I mean, it's very basic. It's a very basic official wiki, and the Feed the Beast wiki has nothing but blank pages.
And there's basically no tutorials for this mod. So, to get your recipes, you're going to need this JEI mod that will show you the recipes. You can look up an item over here. For instance, if I look up ladder,
Okay, it's a mini JEI show.
here's a acacia ladder recipe that I can click on,
Yep.
and it'll show me the recipe. And that's why you're going to want JEI if you get this mod. So, it's not really a mod dependency. The mod will work without it, but you won't be able to figure out what the recipes are without trial and error.
This concludes the mini JEI showcase.
So now I'm going to go over some tools you might not need, and I'm not going to cover their recipes. The obsidian work blade, the diamond handsaw, the quartz shears, the opal axe, the iron clippers, the redstone torch arrow. I had some goofy hijinks with an arrow and a skeleton. And the sharp bone, which is like a bone knife.
I mean, you don't have a flint sword, so you have that.
And then there's a whole bunch of other random things.
Now, not everything seems to be implemented, at least in 1.12 yet. But
So, here's a lot of materials I found in the mod. Mysterious blue stone, light blue hardened stone, chiseled
Those I'm
carbonite
pretty sure are
brick,
actually available in game for sure.
stacked desiccated stone, zinc block, copper
Those may be
block,
compatibility blocks, I'm not sure.
ferro
Ferrocalcite?
ferrocalcite block.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of random things in this mod. There's these shelves. You could craft these shelves and put things on them. They're like those cool crafting tables, but
Yeah, just a
there's
whole shelf.
these two saplings on the bottom shelf are new trees. These trees right here, they're brand new.
Yeah.
This is a yew log. And this tree is the ironwood tree.
Any content you see is from this or vanilla. That includes the lanterns.
There's, like
Yeah, more
Thin-
thin slabs.
thin slabs for like mossy cobblestone, slabs for glass. There's zinc ingots, tin dust, copper nuggets, rocks.
The rocks definitely you can find.
Rocks can be used with a stone basin, which is like you craft it like a bucket but with stone. Fish can go rotten. There's
Maybe,
cool
apparently.
new
Didn't actually see
plants.
that in game yet.
There's wolves drop meat now.
Apparently,
there's
maybe.
plant papyrus. There's
A lot of cloudiness on this savannah.
yeah.
The
There's-
corn definitely spawns.
There's wolf armor,
wolf armor?
and yeah, there's these different types of armor. Like
Ovis.
there's Ovis armor, wolf armor, obsidian
Oh
armor.
yeah, that is wolf armor.
Those are new armors. There's tanning, which we'll talk about later.
It's implemented, but it's really annoying. and
There's
weird.
different kinds of cords and twine, like this one, and like the silk. There's these funky purple carrots. There's bark. You could take the bark off of logs, and then you just have a stripped log. There's corn. And last but not least, cows no longer drop leather. So to get leather is a bit of a complicated process, which I'll go through now. First, you're gonna want to build yourself a drying rack, which now we've seen all these things before: the slats, the twine, the pins. You got to put all those things together with some planks to get a drying rack, and then you're going to want to use your work knife on some logs, any log of your choosing, to get the bark. And you're going to need the bark to make ground resin.
You can also do 2x2, but you get less of them. You get 3 with this recipe.
Yeah, so the 3x3 bark into resin recipe is actually more efficient, which is why I recommend that one. Once you got your ground resin, you combine that ground resin with a bottle of water to get tannin.
For tannin.
Now, you kill pretty much any animal to get their pelt. And then you take that animal pelt and use your work knife on it to get rawhide.
You'll get a few pieces of rock.
Then you're going to want to find some salt to combine it with the rawhide and get salted hide. Now, salt, it turned out for me, was not so difficult to find. I ran outside of my castle over to this white area, and it turned out it was a salt flat. Okay? This is salt. And to get the salt, all you need to do
Just break
is
with a Gallagher.
break it with a Gallagher. That hammer that we talked about earlier. So, go find some salt. It should be just lying around in salt flats for you to find. Salt that hide and get your salted hide. Then you take that salted hide and you put it on your drying rack to get dried hide. But that drying rack, you're going to want to place that drying rack
Stone ladders.
on sand. It won't work unless it's on sand. So I placed this salted hide and it became dried hide here on the sand.
It says influenced by surroundings. That might work under certain conditions, but sand seems to matter a lot. It wasn't working even in a savanna without sand.
It won't work on top of that hill, but it'll work on the sand down here. If you're interested in these stone ladders, you just use your work knife on the stone of your choosing, like polished diorite or something, and then you get ladders made of that stone.
That's actually pretty clever.
It's pretty cool. But back to the tanning. Once you dry that salted hide and get dried hide, you take your dried hide
And now you
and
can tan it.
you combine it with that tannin that you made earlier from the bark. And you get tanned hide. Then you place the tanned hide
Back
on
on
a
the
drying
rack.
rack again. And the tanned hide becomes leather.
Ah. Yep. Yeah.
See, there's the leather. One of my tanned hides has turned into leather. So the drying process takes a while. It's kind of long.
It's a lot shorter on sand and in deserts, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sand all the way.
And so that's how you achieve leather technology in PrimalCore. And, you know, you're going to work hard for your leather armor, and it'll feel rewarding because you can dye it. And that's really the only reason, because you probably had iron armor a long time ago by the time you're done with this.
Unless you have a mod pack that makes it hard to get iron, which you might want to consider.
Which I hope the makers of PrimalCore make it more difficult to work iron in the future.
I mean, at least to be consistent.
Yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this mod showcase, please go download the mod and try it out for yourself.
Oh, cat!
It's a really interesting mod. And if you liked this video, please press the thumbs up button and press that subscribe button to see all the videos on my channel. And share them with your friends. And, you know, go out there and do something that inspires you, okay? I'm Jasper Worsley. Have a good one.